Now, dogs are man's best friend, and studies have shown that this dog-human relationship benefits both, especially when we talk about improving our respective emotional and health needs. But how can we better take care of our furry friends? Well, we're going to be learning a lot today because joining us now live in the studio is veterinarian Dr. Glenn Albert Almera, also known as Doc Gav.
Thank you so much, Jamie, for having me today.
Good morning.
And it's really high time that we have this kind of show for our pet parents. Because these past few years, there's really a high-rocketing number of pet parents in the Philippines.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming here because, I also believe, and I have the same sentiments as you, wherein we really need to get the word out there about how to take care of your pets. Ako pa, dog owner pa ako, diba? So,
me too also.
Yeah, so talking about dogs, can you tell us a little bit more about the usual illnesses that dogs can have, like some that are severe or some that are just common, right? And how can we prevent those?
Yeah, actually, for our dogs, there are different kinds of diseases that they can get from the surroundings. Sometimes they can also get from our household. But let's talk about the most common. We can actually hear a lot about parvovirus, distemper, and leptospirosis. But let's talk about one of the most common for dogs is parvovirus. This kind of disease is actually a virus that affects mostly puppies or those that don't have the vaccine. This parvovirus can be obtained from the environment, not only from direct contact, but also to those pet parents who are going out and will have a contact from dogs that have this virus. So sometimes this virus can be prevented naman through vaccine. Kasi this can be prevented by continuous vaccination. However, in some late cases, some pet parents don't know that they have to vaccinate their pets at an early age, usually 6 to 8 weeks. And when it attacks their pets, it's too late na for them.
Okay. So what are the symptoms of this illness?
Okay.
Can you tell us a little bit more about it?
Sure. Parvovirus actually affects mostly the digestive tract or the gastrointestinal tract of our pets. That's the reason why most of the symptoms are vomiting, their feces are very soft, sometimes it has blood tinge on the poops because this virus affects the lining of the intestine, thus they cannot eat because they cannot also digest and absorb the nutrient. That's the reason why most of the time, dehydration is the first thing that we have to correct from this disease.
Now, you were also talking about puppies most likely getting it, right? But does temperature or weather also affect like puppies or even older dogs also getting this virus or any other virus of that matter?
Yeah, actually temperature, especially most of the time when it changes from a high temperature to a cold temperature, also when we change from summer or dry climate to this time, the rainy season, it affects their ability to handle the stress. That's the reason why some pets, whenever they go out, and they don't have the vaccine, even not virus like parvovirus, they can also get some bacterial diseases that can cause them to be sick. Some diseases can actually be triggered by stress. So temperature change, especially puppies, because they cannot control better the temperature, they are more prone to these diseases.
Okay, so you're talking about temperature, you're talking about us possibly giving our dogs also this disease, right? Like, what is the proper care, Doc? Like, what can we do to take care of our furry friends? Kasi for some dog people, diba, they treat their dogs like their own children.
Yeah.
So what are the steps or the tips that you can give us on how we can take care of our dogs, even just at home?
Okay, yeah, for our pet parents out there, first thing that we have to know is what is the lifestyle of our pets. Because if our pets are very often actively going out, we have to prevent them from getting worms from the soil sa labas ng bahay. So the worming is actually one of the preventive way to make sure that they are healthy. And then also it's very important to make sure that they are not getting in contact with any food or any material in the house that they can eat and can poison them or they can ingest that may cause them to have this blockage into their pathway in the digestive tract. But most importantly also to all pet parents out there, please vaccinate your pets because vaccination prevents them from getting infected by these viruses. And I always say prevention is always better than cure.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the vaccinations, like the scheduling, like for the puppies or even like, let's say the older dogs, like what are the steps that the dog owners can do in terms of protecting their furry children?
Okay. Actually, for our dogs, we can start vaccinating them or we can start bringing them to the clinic at 2 weeks of age. We can start the deworming and we better have them deworm first before vaccination to make sure that their body is healthy enough to, of course, accept the vaccine. And vaccination usually starts at 6 to 8 weeks for our puppies. And there's a succeeding sequence in between 2 to 3 weeks time, depending on the vet's as advice. And for the adults, usually if we have adult dogs that never get the vaccination, sometimes the vets advise in between once or twice in that year.
Okay, so speaking about like the dogs, right, and them getting vaccinations, is it also different? Like, let's say if the dog is smaller or bigger, like depending on the breed or the size, or is it all relatively the same?
Yeah, for vaccination, actually, the vaccination is applicable and can be given to any breeds, any size. So we have this one kind of vaccine for all breeds and sizes.
All right. But how about for the older dogs, diba? Like, let's say the ones that are 8 or 10 years old. Because, of course, when the puppies are younger, although they are susceptible to more illnesses, right? But they also do have some sort of immune system that makes them thrive, unlike the older ones that are like 8 to 10 years old. Like, of course, they're a little bit more frail. So how can we take care of our older dogs naman?
Okay, for our older dogs, that's a very good question. No? Kasi in terms of vaccination, some pet parents have connotation that if their old dogs never get any vaccine from their puppy stage, they have to get it from the first time, the first step. But actually, we can put a sequence that is very suitable for the age of your dog. And yes, even if they're adult, they still need to get the vaccine. But to take care of them, one of the most important things to consider is actually the diet or the food. They really have to get digestible food, high in fiber, fatty acids, and also omega-3 because our adult dogs are most likely have this very fast wear and tear of their body. So nutrition really plays an important factor for our adult dogs.
Okay. So talking about nutrition, diba? Let's move forward naman to grooming. Like, how frequently should like a dog be groomed, especially during the rainy season, right? For like the dogs with like really long hair or really long fur rather, right? Like, how's the maintenance for that? What would you suggest?
Yeah, it's very applicable din nowadays kasi maulan, no? So for our pet parents out there na may mga dogs, actually there's no kind of schedule that actually fits to all breed and types. But it's a good rule of thumb to have them groomed usually every 3 weeks or 1 month, depending on the breed and depending also on how often they go out. But every 3 weeks to 1 month is good already.
Okay, so every 3 weeks to 1 month. All right, thank you so much, Doc Gab, for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
All right, so yes, that's it. This is a New Day, and stay tuned for more. And thank you for joining us again here on New Day.